That's all right.
Good. Okay.
We ready? Okay, a little bit more about myself. I'm a hardware software product portfolio manager. I've got over 30 years working in product introduction and product development. I started my career after I got out of the military with a little company called Nortel Networks and spent over 19 years with them in various roles before I went to California to do a startup in Northern California in the San Jose area. I got there just during the dot-com bubble burst, which was a fun time. Moved down to Southern California. About 10 years ago, my wife got an opportunity back here, so we came back to North Carolina. And my biggest problem I have with North Carolina is June, July, and August. I don't mind the heat, it's the humidity that kills me. I'm also retired Lieutenant Colonel with the U.S. Army. Part of that was 11.5 years with the North Carolina Army National Guard, where I learned a lot. I joined BroadMoar about a year ago because I realized I didn't have a total tool set to help businesses be successful. I'm also currently a mentor at the North Carolina State Pullins College of Management Entrepreneurship Program. And believe it or not, we're actually going to class every Wednesday night. The graduate program I'm in, they decided that they would prefer to have the students present for that. So with that, what I'm going to talk about, back earlier this year, Drew asked me to write an article for Thriving Beyond the Storm, and I wrote the strategic business planning based upon my experience. Now, the strategic business planning is a high level, but I'm going to take us down into what we can do from a business perspective in today's environment and talk about it. And if you know, Drew is in the process of getting version 2 of Thriving Beyond the Storm finalized for release. And I would say within the next couple of weeks, if all goes well for Drew. Before we start getting started though, I'll go over a few items that you need to be aware of and give out a definition of what business planning is, so that we're on the same sheet of music with that. So since this is a small group, I would say, why don't we ask questions as we go, and then we can see where we're at in the time as we go. I figured this will take about 25 minutes at the most. Okay, there we go. Some business facts before we get started. 85% of the company marketing is done online. Everybody says marketing is done through the website and everything else. No, the majority of marketing is done, 85% of all marketing is done offline. This is where you build your business plans, your marketing plans, your financials, the whole 9 yards. 90% plus of the people who view websites will determine to do business based upon the review. So they'll come up to your website, they're going to look at that website, and they're going to look at something called reputation. If you don't have a 5-star reputation and they read a couple reviews, you might not get them to do business with you. And you got about 30 seconds to get their attention. 95% all clicks go to business found on the page 1 of the Google search engine. The top 3 companies on page 1 of a Google search get 75% of the clients. In essence, if the top 10 companies, they get 95% of all the clicks, the top 3 get 70% of the businesses. So you want to be in the Google top page 1, and if you can, get yourself up into the top 3. If you look at the star ratings, if you see someone that has a 4.5 or 4 or something like that in the stars, a half of a star can influence can have a 19% effect on your revenue. Doesn't seem like much, but it does have that effect. And postings to your page can increase your visibility and brand. I do a lot of postings on my LinkedIn for BroadMoar. I post a lot on Facebook on a bunch of different pages. And I'm getting a lot of questions and stuff like that. Drew, you see a lot of my postings coming through the Fuquays for in a small business.
Yep.
But to increase your visibility, you've got to increase your posting. Now, you can pay someone to do the posting, but they're still going to come back to you for what's your content. So you're still going to have to do the content, but why are you paying someone to do the postings for you? It's very simple process of doing the posting. Okay, as I said in the article, a business plan is a comprehensive roadmap for your small business growth and development. It communicates, one, who you are, what you plan to do, and how you plan to do it. It also helps attract talent and investors. At NC State, when we do entrepreneurship with the students, we teach them how to go out and find a program and then start talking to the clients to find the potential clients, understand who they are, how they're going to do the business, and how you plan for it. One of their criteria is to put a financial plan together and define the markets and everything else. Over the years, I've identified, everybody says there are 4 areas of business. There's the business plan. I refer to that as the strategic business plan. There's the definition and product introduction. Here you're defining, and we'll get into these more. There's the marketing plan. There's the sales plan. Now, I've got in here hunter versus farmer, and I referenced that in the article I wrote. The hunter is a person I want for me as a salesperson. And I'm gonna tell you someone I would select as the hunter. How many of you got into a timeshare sales? I see a few smiles. That's a hunter. That person has 90 minutes to, one, make you relax, give you a pitch, and then get you to sign on the dotted line. The other 30 minutes, if the financial team is up to speed, is to get the contract written and get you to sign and get you the hell out of there. I would hire someone from that environment because they know how to make the client safe and comfortable. The farmer, he's the person that you got a business out there and he's going out and reselling your product and everything else. In the case of large corporations, they have the hunter and they have the farmer. Where most businesses fail are in the other 2 areas that I define them. One is implementation. How do I implement my plan across all these areas? And then sustainment. How do I'm going to sustain my business? Is that taking the product and going forward with it? Is it finding new product and bringing new product in? Regardless if you're in a large, medium, small, or entrepreneurship environment, you're looking at all 6 of these areas and you have to put them together. Let's look at the areas very briefly. The business plan, as we all know, is what's your product offering? What is the product you're going to offer? When is the product going to be available? What's the cost of that product? The marketing strategy, who are you going to sell that product to? Why are they going to buy it? How are you going to get them to stay on as a client year after year? What's your sales plan? How many salespeople are? Quick question for you. In a business, whether it's a small, medium size, who's your sales force? Anybody want to guess? It's anybody who picks up the phone and starts talking to the client. Think about it. I'm going to call your business because I have your phone number. I ask the receptionist, I want to talk to you about buying X product. And then the person says, oh, but you really don't want X product. You want B product because it does this and that. No, they talk about what the product is. I argue this point with everybody constantly. The best company that does marketing is Apple. A lot of people will say, no, Apple is the worst company. Apple markets on why you buy their product, not on what the product does, but what the product does for you. It takes 25, it has 3 different Zoom capabilities on the phone. You can handle X, if you need X amount of text messages, it provides X amount of text. It tells you why you want the product. Customer service, how do you support customer service? What's your customer service plan for what you do? Operations, how are you going to do your operations? When I came on board, I had to set up a Google My Business account on Google. What are the first thing a couple things they ask for is what's my website? What's my office hours? So when someone comes in, they can look at what my office hours are. That's all part of operations. Delivery, what are you going to deliver to the customer? Are you going to have to manufacture a new product? Bob, I want to pick on you for a couple minutes. On Legal Shield, you're not creating any new products for Legal Shield. You're taking their products and you're reselling their products. Yep. So you're purchasing the capability to do a resale. I'll pick on Jessica here in Fuquay. Jessica is very involved in gotcha gifts. Drew bought a very nice bookmark, a bunch of them that he gave away at a symposium one time. She buys a product and then she makes a modification to that product, i.e. a manufacturing capability, because she's got to have the tools, the capability to modify that product, and then she turns around and sells it. So business plan encompasses all of this. When you go and see, if you start up a business, you're going to have all these elements if you're going to go out and find an investor. Product development introduction. What is your product offering? If I deal with a large electronics company that manufactures and builds, we got to figure out how to build the product, how we're going to manufacture it, how we're going to assemble it into a system, and what are we going to sell. If your product offering is what Jessica sells, it's going and finding a vendor that can provide that capability. So is it new or is it resale? Someone who's in the consignment business, they're in a resale business because they're reselling someone else's property. What are your equipment needs if manufactured and modified? In manufacturing, I did an analysis for some friends out in California. They wanted to set up a winery. And I looked at it from the 2 perspectives, a brand new winery versus just going out and buying one. Well, there was a third aspect I came across. What happens if I want to buy the juice? I want to ferment it for X amount of time. Then I want to bottle that juice. I don't have to buy a stemmer that takes the grapes off the stems and stuff. And then you have to ferment because I can buy those tanks. I don't have to by buying the juice. All I have to do is buy the juice, put it in the barrels for the length of time, blend them, and then bottle them into a bottle. Oh, by the way, I don't have to buy the bottle equipment because there are companies that come out in 18-wheelers, and all I have to do is give them my labels, give them my bottles, give them my juice, and a case goes on, and 5 minutes later at the most, a full case, fully bottled comes on the other side of the line. It goes down, around, and back out. So how are you going to manufacture, or how are you going to modify that product? And one of the things that I used to get involved in is a strategy, a long-term strategy. We always had a 3 to 5 year plan on how we were going to take our products in a large corporation and get them new. What I do here is the owner of the company comes up with products. I got to figure out how to sell it and get it out to the people. Marketing, sales. Who are your customers? What is the market size? I worked with a group of people, and they had a great plan for construction people. And when I asked them who your customer was, they said every contractor in the United States. Yeah, that's great, but who are you going to initially sell to? So who are your customers? What is their requirements for that? And we went from national down to North and South Carolina. And then we actually took it down to Wake County, Orange County, Durham, and then we expanded over a period of time. Who's your competition? For them, it was anybody that sold this tool. We talked earlier about the conference I was involved in. There were over 30 different companies that offered virtual conferencing. When we started talking to them, I was surprised how many different variations of that had, to include a large corporation. I asked a large corporation, did they have this capability? And he said, no, we don't have any plans for it for 5 years. Yet their competition, who was a very small startup, was already offering that capability. By the way, that large company was twice the price with half of the capability that we went with. What is your market? We talked about marketing. What is your pricing strategy? If you start from square one, your pricing strategy has to include raw materials, cost of manufacturing, cost of goods, the whole 9 yards. If you're going to resell, what did you pay for that product? I'll pick on Drew. You can tell Jessica, I picked on her a lot. Jessica buys a product, so she pays for a product. She then has to turn around and sell it. But remember, she modifies that product before she sells it. Drew's showing what Jessica did. Nice bookmarks, guys. Absolutely fantastic. I'd recommend Jessica, and actually Drew, I'd recommend Drew for writing books. But what's your pricing strategy going to? Oh, by the way, what's your margins? What kind of margins are you working at? A manufacturing company I worked at, we knew what our product costs were. And then the division manager said, I need an 85% margin. So we had to say, here's cost of goods, get 85%, and here's what we had to price. Oh, by the way, I had to go back and see what my competition was doing from a pricing structure. Okay. Now, here it became, if I want to capture that market, so we go back to market share. If I want to capture the market share, how do I price to capture the market share? We came up with a little thing, and most businesses do it, is they say, if you buy 1 to 9 of my products, I'm going to charge you this. Oh, by the way, that 1 to 9, that's your 85% market share premium on the product. The minute you go from 10 to, let's say, 50, you drop that margin by X%. And that all goes into your pricing strategy when you put your business plan together. By the way, if you're a small business doing a startup, these are the same things you have to look at as you do it. What's your time worth and what is it? How are you going to sell the product? Word of mouth, web. What is your plan to sell the product? That all goes back to your competition and your overall marketing strategy. Who's your sales team? We've already talked about it. Everyone is on the sales team. I was in a leadership conference at Nortel. I'll pick on Nortel. And they asked the question, who's your customer when the phone rings? Who's the customer? No, if your phone rings, how do you answer it? And everybody says, well, I have to find out who the person is. I said, I believe everybody at the other end of that phone is my customer. Whether it's an internal person or an external, they're my customer. They would not have called me if they didn't have a question. So that's why if you run a company, if you're yourself, that phone is, hi, my name is JV Miller. I am a business marketing advisor for BroadMoar Consulting. How can I help? You figure out what your line is. Implementation and sustainment. Implementation, it's focusing on the business plan strategy. It's taking what you have totally put together in all four of those areas. And how are you going to implement that strategy in your marketing plan, your sales plan, your customer service, your product introduction? How are you going to implement? Most businesses fail in this area because they forget to look at all of the areas that they have. I'll pick on something. I became a product manager. I was product manager for a manufacturing company. And I started asking people in there, the sales team, I said, how do you sell the product? Oh, we take whatever marketing does in sales it. Marketing, where do you get your information? Oh, we put it together, we read the, I asked Mark, everybody had their own delivery plans, everybody had. So I took in the first 30 days, I put a comprehensive staged marketing delivery plan so we could sell product. When it was put together, I found out we were getting ISO 9000 compliant. They came in and hit me because I used wrong terminology. They liked the plan, except my manufacturing people had something called a blue book. I said manufacturing book, and they gigged me because I didn't use the right terminology. Sustainment. How do you plan to maintain your sales? What are you going to do to up the ante on your sales? What's your competition doing to compete against you, and what do you have to do to maintain that sales lead? How do you maintain credibility with it? What new products are you going to offer? How do you go about offering them? Drew, I worked with Drew on this book, and then I had a couple of friends that Drew talked to, and we both laughed after the lady told us what she wanted. And Drew said, she's writing books and she doesn't even know what she wants or how to write it. What are the products Drew's going to offer to the people? Every time I hear Drew, he's telling us what he does for a client and how he goes about it. Now, for businesses, even for yourselves, what's your replacement strategy? If a new software tool becomes obsolete, how are you going to implement a new software strategy that utilizes your existing tools? If you're dealing with Drew showed us the bookmark, that's one of leather. What about a higher quality leather? Are you going to do a replacement strategy? And by the way, at some point you've got to go and do what I call retirement. You do a fire sale of all the product, get rid of your stock, and you get rid of that product. In a large corporation, if you have IP rights for a product, what are you going to do when you retire the product? Do you sell the IP rights? Do you take a certain percentage? What is that overall strategy? Okay, let's talk about COVID-19. We've talked about all the businesses. As I said in their article, where is your business now? And there are two types of strategies that you can apply to your business based upon what's happening. You can do a do nothing. You can do business as usual. I'm going to continue to sell to these clients. I'm going to continue to offer these product offerings. Oh, and my business plan, it hasn't changed. I don't care what's happening with you. You should do a minimum of every 12-month business plan review. Go back through that entire process and say, am I achieving my business strategies that in my financial goals that I did? I'm going to pick on myself. One of the things that I was, as a product line manager, I was told I had full responsibility for this entire product line. Guess what my manager, my divisional manager did not give me? Control of the sales team. Guess who sells my product? I had no control on the salespeople. But what did Dan, my boss, say every 3 months when the quarter was over with? Go back and do a full sales analysis. How many units did we sell? At what margins did we sell them? And also tell me who the best salespeople were. Do a 12-month minimum review. If you're not seeing a change in your business, then it's business as usual. And we know, and depending upon who you listen to and which business person you hear, within 2 months after COVID-19 came out, they said a third of the businesses will disappear. Now they're talking 50% of the businesses are going to disappear, which means that's 50. If they employ 5 people, let's say 100, that's 500 people that won't have a job. So businesses have to do something in order to survive. So do something. Again, the first thing you got to do is understand what has changed and why. Look at all the restaurants. All the restaurants shut down, but then a couple of them started saying, "Oh, we're going to do home delivery. We're going to do pickup." What they do, they put all these plastics in front of their registers and stuff. You came in, you ordered, you came in, you picked up. They figured out how to change their business model to maintain, quote, a revenue stream. And they understood why they had to make these changes. Now, if you look at the restaurants, and this is not the restaurant's choice, the states are telling them that you got to do 25%. You can only have 25 or 50% occupancy. So now they got to go in and figure out how they change that. But the state's dictating. But now here comes the other thing. How are they changing their menus? How do I keep getting people to come back to my restaurant? And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. There are 3 things you have to do, not only for restaurants, but for all businesses. If something has changed, you have to review your business plan. And in today's COVID environment, you need to sit down, review your business plan. I would even suggest if you're single sole proprietorship and you're married, sit down and walk your plan through your wife or your husband so they understand and they might be able to give you ideas. But review your business plan and review it every 6 months. It ain't gonna take that long once you do a comprehensive review. And then you got to start looking at what is your new business norm. Everybody says, oh, we're going to go back to the norm. We're not. There's a new norm out there. I just heard Robin, my wife, was telling me before I came in here that she heard that in Mountain View, California, they are now requiring corporations to build a campus. And on that campus, they have to provide housing for their employees. Total different norm. When I was living in California, I had a friend that built manufacturing plants over in Asia. And I had a laugh when Robin told me about this morning. When a business went into China, they built a campus. And on that campus, they provided, if I needed 2,000 workers, they provided rooms food halls and everything else for 2,000 people. Oh, by the way, add 20% onto that. They had to add an additional 20% for people, labor on that campus. So someone got sick, they could, and that was a government requirement. And I thought Tim was lying to me. I went to a conference and we were sitting around overnight at drinks at the hotel we were staying at. And we met this guy, and he was the last American at this corporation's manufacturing facility in China. And he was saying that they had just been given a requirement by the Chinese government to increase the housing by another 10%. And I said, I said, Tim told me this. He said, yeah, it's getting worse than that. So now here we have the same thing taking place in the US. Now, I've only heard it from one source, and that is the gospel, one source. What is the new business norm? Who's your who's your new competition? What new tools do you have that you have to worry about? Bob, I'm sure with home inspection, you got a whole bunch of tools that you use. What new tools do you have coming out that can help you be more efficient so you can improve your productivity?
It's primarily software.
But can it integrate, can that software take your old files and integrate them into the new system, into your new system, so you don't lose that information? It's those type of things you have to do. So what is a new business norm? I can't tell you what that is, but you're going to have to continue monitoring it. Okay, business strategies now, things you need to do. Review your business plan 100%. Go back, look at your marketing strategy, look at your financial strategy, look at your product delivery plans, look at everything in there. Review your marketing plan. Same plan, is the same plan working? Has your market changed? Has your market size changed? Who's your competition? Has your competition changed? When I moved from North Carolina to San Jose, California, first housing pricing was a shock and a half. But was talking to a real estate agent out there, and in 2001 was talking to the real estate agent, and she said, we got all these people being laid off and they're getting into the real estate business because they figured real estate was an easy place to make money. She says, it isn't. Are your financials solid? Has your competition reduced their price, forcing you to do a new pricing strategy? Are your material costs gone up? You've all heard in the last couple of days what's happening with the housing market. Construction material price is going up, which means your financials, if you're in that industry, your cost of goods, your cost of building is going up. I'd love to see something around here. We've got a bunch of homes that are getting new roofs. These people are coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning, ripping off a roof, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they've got a new roof on the top of the house. Of course, they got 10 people, but what's their costs? Is that built in your financial? What is your recovery plan? We've been at COVID-19 now for 6 months. Have you figured out what your recovery plan is, or is it business at issue? Couple things to look at. One, how are you going to get new customers? The key is you got to get a new customer in through that door. I don't care what businesses you're in. Wendy, for you, how are you going to get new customers? Bob, how are you going to get new customers for Legal Shield and home inspection? Drew, if I want to write a book and Drew's offered it, he'll help me write a book. I've got friends that keep saying I should write books. I don't know what on. But how are you going to get new customers in? We have found that advertising costs X number of dollars to get a new customer in. If I can get that customer to come back a second time, it's cut by over 50%. But let me ask you a Why should you? If I'm retaining an existing customer and they come back into my business or they pick up my call to talk to you, what are they probably going to say if you've been doing something good after the call? Wendy called Drew. You might want to talk to Drew if you think about writing a book. If it's a restaurant business, that retained existing customer, when they come back in, they're probably going to bring another couple with them. Look at the high school kids, the college kids. They like a good Starbucks. They like a good restaurant. They're going to bring their friends in, so that brings not only those people, but your new customers in, and that's what you want to retain. The biggest thing is ensure everyone is trained. How many of you walked in a restaurant and the waiter or waitress walks in and says, "What can I get for you?" And they never tell you what the specials are. If you treat your waiter or waitress and say, "Here are the specials for the night, and here's a little piece of paper for you to read." I don't mind someone reading something like that to me. But what I object to is I've ordered, "Oh, by the way, would you be interested in this special because you ordered this?" No, tell me what the specials are up front. Go into a business. Go into a business, a retail business. "Can I help you?" "Well, I'm looking for this." "Oh, well, they're over there." Trained that employee to take that person over and show them all the different things. By the way, take that employee and let them try on the product so they can feel what it's like. Going back to restaurants, let the employee taste the special. Because I've gone to restaurants and I say, "Is this good?" "Oh, you got to try it because this is great and this is great." But if they don't do the upsell, we got problems. And that's what we have to do in today's business. Okay, any questions? Hopefully I didn't take up a lot of time. Hopefully this was of value. Here's my contact information. I like what Andrew Carnegie said a long time ago, "Strong men." You can easily change that to "strong people." Don't compromise, it is said. And your principles should never be compromised. My reputation, my credibility is what I have in business, and I don't want anybody to ruin it. So when I look at those reviews, I wonder what people think of me. And I posted this information. How can I help you? You notice that I say advisor. I hate people who say they're consultants. You know why?
Why?
Accountant is going to sell you. Consultant is going to come out there to try and sell you a product. An advisor is going to come out, sit down with you, discuss your business needs, asking a series of questions, listening to what you got to say, and then say, "Okay, Wendy, can we set up time in 3 days to re-talk?" Go back, talk to the resources saying, "Here are the problems that we're seeing." And then come back out and say, "Wendy, here is what we saw and here's our recommendations. Oh, by the way, can I give you can that advisor give you one price for everything?" Yes. But are you going to try that person? Probably not, because we've all been bit by other people for things. What you want is a delivery plan that says, "I will take this. I will see how well you do. And if you do very well here, then let's go step 2, step 3, and step 4. The consultant has a price for this package structure. And an advisor has a plan for you to become successful over a period of time. By the way, if I can prove, or that advisor can prove that your credibility is there and your honesty and integrity, guess who's going to get the business? Any questions, comments, feedback? I believe this strategy works for all businesses. It's just adjusting it to your, but you need a business plan. You need a product strategy. You need a marketing plan.
I liked your comment on phone answering.
Yeah.
I think too many people are, hello.
Yep.
And, you know, and I avoid answering phones for the most part. So if my phone rings, I usually don't answer it. And so I think one of the real challenges in today's world is how to sort out the robocalls from the viable leads.
Well, I answer the phone every time I answer it, Bob, as a business thing, whether it's my home phone or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you call me, you're going to hear Realization Press, how may I help you publish? And if I hear this long pause, I know it's a robocall.
Well, for me, I'm an old fart. Drew knows that I'm definitely an old fart because he knows how old I am. I still have a home phone number, believe it or not. I still have a landline. Yeah, it cost me $55 a month for that stupid twisted pair. My cell phone, my work number, our business, and I'm like Drew. I will pick those up and answer them that way. But my home phone number, Drew, I don't know if I've given it to you or not, but my home number, when I give it to it, I go and say yes. Guess what happens if it's a robocall? 5 times out of 10, it ain't gonna be connected to me because the robocall is looking for a hello. Now I'm gonna go back to your statement, and I agree with you, Bob, on some businesses, but here's the problem you got when you're dealing with a business. You have the choice of answering the call, and I agree with Drew that you answer the way he answers it for all the calls. The second one is you can leave a message, and I, as the business person, can decide whether I'm going to delete that message or call you back. Or I may, the third option is, oh, I'll get back to Bob at a later date. So I save the message. Probability once I save it is I may never get back to you. That's why a long time ago someone said to me, don't leave messages. And I'll use it as a point. I met this guy who was the CEO of a company, and I was going through a career transition. And he said, if you want to talk to me, don't leave a message. After the third ring, hang up. Well, I called him 3 times. I left a message. The 4th time I called, it rang the 3rd time. And and for some reason, he picked up and said, I see, JV, you finally learned the lesson. Don't leave messages. And I use that after the 3rd ring. I'll normally hang up because I want to talk to the live person. If you don't want to answer me, fine. But I think you lose money if you don't answer the call. Good comment, good question, Bob. Anybody else?
Well,
Quick question.
Thank you very much.
Was this of value?
Yeah.
Yeah, good refresher on a lot of things for me.
Yep.
And I'll be glad to sit down. You know, yeah, I'm selling businesses, but I'll be glad to sit down with you. I'll go through my 100. We've got 10 questions we ask all clients. I'll be glad to sit down with you and ask you those same 10 questions just to see how you respond to them. But it's got to be a face-to-face. And if you all live in Fuquay, Bob, you live where?
Raleigh.
Raleigh. We can find ourselves a Panera Bread someplace, and you can get social distancing on a 4-seated table, you in one corner, me in the other, and we can have that talk. I miss that socialization. But I'll be glad the offer is I'll sit down with all of you and go through 10 questions. If at the end of it you say, yeah, let's talk, I'll go back and put a plan together for you. It costs you nothing except an hour of your time. Hopefully this was beneficial. And Drew, yeah, the next book I'm going to have to write something up. I think I should have done the last one, but I got too busy. Sorry.
It's okay. Well, thank you for presenting this information. I think it's very valuable for those people who don't have the who can't get the recording of this. You might consider picking up the book because a lot of this is in the chapter that JV added there. So if you haven't done it, it's called Thriving Beyond the Storm. It's available on Realization Press. I didn't really want to do an ad to him, but I just thought.
Hey, Drew, we got to add you. Okay, I got your screen sharing. I'm going to stop my screen sharing now. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So you want me to stop the recording now?
Yes, let's go ahead.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, how do I get a copy of this?